Hey guys, I wanted to do a live stream for this story time because I'm having the hardest time finding something to record live from my webcam because you guys know I don't edit my videos. I feel like in editing videos you lose some of the realism. You're then showing people what you want them to see rather than like the reality of it. So I was using Cyberlink UCam, but since the trial was up, I now have like this weird little watermark in the bottom, and I don't want that on my videos. I didn't know YouTube had this thing where you could live stream from your webcam, so I'm probably going to do this with my videos for a little while. So where to begin? I have quite the story to tell you guys. It happened quite recently. I just got out of the hospital today. So this video, fair warning, this is my only disclaimer because I feel like this is sensitive subject matter. I feel like this is something that some people may be very upset by. I feel like this is something that, given a regular upload, would more than likely be demonetized. So full disclosure, if you have a problem with cancer, if you have a problem with biopsies, if you have a problem with hospitals, doctors, blood, the medical field, vaginas, periods, women's health in general, this is not the video for you. Because I'm going to be talking about all of that. It's not going to be vulgar. I'm not putting this out there to scare anybody. I am simply putting this out there to kind of educate people on the very, very rare, I guess complications is a word that we could use here. Very rare complications that happen with a biopsy. So I just want to make it very clear that if you're not cool with like women's health and you're like freaked out by any of that stuff, go ahead and click off because I'm going to use the word vagina probably a lot. So we're just going to dive right into it. If you're under the age of 13, I would suggest watching with a parent. Can't imagine why you'd be watching this under the age of 13. Go ahead and grab an adult. If you're over the age of like 18, go ahead and grab a snack because this is going to be a long one. So I'm actually going to grab my phone real quick because I'm going to need that here in a second. And if you hear any like humming in the background, it's just my fan. It has been so hot in Denver that it is like out of control, like 100 degrees a day, and I cannot live right now without having a fan on. So just keep that in mind. So first of all, let me back this up like about a month or two. I went to my doctor and she was like, hey, it's been a minute since your last physical. Let's go ahead and get that scheduled. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. We'll go ahead and schedule a physical. It can't be that bad. You're just going to like, cough, test my reflexes, stuff like I'm thinking like basic checkup type things. But then I went in and she was like, so we're going to do a pelvic exam and a breast exam. So I was like, oh, I was not prepared for those things, but thank you for telling me now that I'm already here. My doctor is so poor at communication. I am currently in the process of switching doctors because this whole situation start to finish has been such a nightmare. I refuse to go through anything like this ever again. Also, excuse me, because I'm going to be drinking a lot through this video because I am so dehydrated. I'm so thirsty. It is unreal. Things I could edit out, but I choose not to. Okay, so I go in and have all this done. She's like, if anything's weird with any of your results, we're going to call you. And I'm thinking like, the worst they're going to tell me is my anemia has gotten worse, or they're going to give me like an update on it, like something like that. I'm thinking it has more to do with my being anemic than it does anything else. To this day, I don't know what kind of anemia I have. I don't know if it's just your typical run-of-the-mill, low on iron kind of thing. But I've been taking iron, so I can only assume that's what it is. But I'm going to have another full panel done here in about a week. Anywho. So I'm thinking it's just going to be something about my anemia, but that's not the case. So a week goes by, I don't hear anything. 2 weeks goes by, I don't hear anything. The beginning of the third week, I was at work and I got a voicemail from a women's health center. And I was like, what's that about? Turns out my doctor didn't communicate with me and tell me that I needed to go have a biopsy done. She just a referral to the women's center. And I was like, oh, I feel like that's something that should have been communicated to me. So there was that. I go to the women's center on Monday. It was the 9th, I believe. Just double check. Yes, it was the 9th. So I went in, hello. So I went in on the 9th to have the biopsy done. And the doctor was really nice. She didn't really seem to look over my chart at all. She didn't introduce herself at all. Her first questions to me were, what are you using for birth control? I literally don't even know your name, and you're asking a very, very personal question. So thank you. So we went back, we did the biopsy, and I was like crying. I told her, she asked if I had it done before. I said yes, in my early 20s, and I didn't have was not a good time. I had it done in Florida, and basically when they went in to do the biopsy, they just looked, they were like, you have cancer, walked out of the room, came back, took a chunk out, and I bled for 3 days. There was very little communication. There was very little information given to me. It was a lot to undertake at the age of like 20, 21. So fast forward to this one, I was like crying and telling her, like, I know it's going to hurt. I know it's going to suck. And she was like, it's so rare for anyone to bleed after these. Like, you might have some spotting, but that's about it. I'm like, all right, cool. So Tuesday, I had taken the day off work. I typically work Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. And I talked to my bosses beforehand and was like, hey, I don't know if I'm going to be okay because I wasn't really walking very well the first time. For this one, I know I'm like psychologically not going to be okay. They were like, no, don't worry about it. Just like take the day, come back that Thursday. So I was like, okay, not a problem. Tuesday, and it kind of slowed down. I do my best to talk about my feels. Not very good at it, but I do try. So Tuesday comes along, and I was kind of doing okay. The bleeding had kind of slowed down, so I'm thinking like, not going to be that big of a deal. It was a real big deal, actually. Pause for dramatic effect. So Tuesday about 6 p.m., I started bleeding like uncontrollably. And so I went to the hospital, and they were like, that's not normal. So they put some Monsell solution on, which is pretty much all they did at the gyno's office, and sent me on my way. Wednesday comes, I'm still bleeding. No big story to tell there. Wednesday comes, I'm still bleeding. Thursday comes, and I am bleeding so heavily that I went through 2 overnight pads in an hour. And for any males watching who don't know, that's a lot of blood. I don't mean just like, oh, it was just kind of in the middle. I mean like front, back, side to side, it was full. So I had to go to work. I was working 3 to 9, and I went into work, and there was a huge thing about like numbers and goals and hours and this and that. And I was just getting so frustrated. I'm like, you guys don't understand. I've literally been bleeding for 4 days, to the point where I don't know from like an anemic standpoint. Like, am I gonna flip in? Like, what is happening? So, my coworker, hey Elise, you the MVP here. My coworker Elise actually took me from work to a different hospital, and they were like, yeah, even if you were on your period, there's literally so much blood, we cannot even tell where all this bleeding is coming from. So they looked a couple of times and they were like, yeah, you're definitely bleeding from your incision sites. Like, this is not normal. This is so rare. Like, this is, you got problems. So I was in the hospital for 4 or 5 hours. They did a couple exams and put on some more solutions, sent me home. Friday morning, yesterday morning, Friday the 13th, because that's my life. I woke up, I went through 2 overnight pads in 30 minutes. That is a lot of blood. And I don't mean just in the middle. I mean like front, back, side to side, blood everywhere. I literally woke up in a pool of my own blood and I was horrified. So I called the women's center and was like, we need to talk because I have been bleeding since Monday. It is now Friday. Help me. And they were like, we have a 10:45. Can you make it? Absolutely. Hopped in my car, ran up there. Like, somebody's got to know something. So the guy looks and he was like, I've been doing this for 30 years and I've literally never seen someone bleed this much after a cervical biopsy. He's like, you had like what, 2-3 incisions and you're just blood everywhere. Like, that's a problem. So they put silver nitrate. This is where it's going to get a little bit vulgar. It's a vagina. Like, if you don't like it, you can go. So there was this stuff called silver nitrate that he put on the incision sites, and then he put Monsell solution on a tampon, stuck it in there, and was like, call us back in 2 hours. If, like, you need to take this out in 2 hours. If there's blood on it, you need to come back in. So I went to lunch. I went to work to let them know what was going on because it was like right around the corner. And then I went to Starbucks and I took out the tampon. It was completely soaked. And I was like, cool. This is not supposed to be happening. Even with the silver nitrate, this is not supposed to be happening. So I go in and the guy was like, oh, we have to cauterize the area. And I was like, oh, that means you're going to burn it. Shit. Cool. So I went in for the procedure. I'm like trying to stay calm. I'm trying to like control my anxiety. I'm trying to be very much like present in the moment, trying to do all this grounding stuff we've been talking about in therapy. And then he comes in and he looks and he's like, there's still, I've been doing this for 30 years and I've only seen one other person bleed as much as you after a biopsy, but it was not nearly as bad as how much you were bleeding. We have to cauterize the area. And I was like, oh, that is a problem. So I'm trying to be calm, trying to be okay. I started crying and I was like, I'm so scared I'm going to have a panic attack. Cause I know if I have a panic attack, I'm going to start shaking. I'm going to start crying more, hyperventilating. You're not going to be able to do your job. Like, what are my options? What else can I do? At this point, he had become the second person to tell me that due to my anemia and how low my blood counts were on Tuesday, if I didn't cauterize the area or do something to raise my blood levels, I was going to need a transfusion, which is one of my biggest fears. I don't want someone else's DNA inside my body. It freaks me out. I can't. I just, can't. So I am going to counseling still. I went through all of this by myself though. So this is a solo Jess story. So I was sitting on the table kind of freaking out and he was like, let's just get you set up at the hospital. Let's have you go in. They're going to put you to sleep. They're going to go in, cauterize it. It's all good. He's like, we're going to numb the area. Like, you're not going to feel it. And I'm like, but is it going to work though? Because as a side story, I went to this really, really popular ice cream spot in Denver about a month or two ago. And I ordered espresso fudge like I always do. They gave me like Reese's or peanut butter cup or something like that, which I'm super allergic to peanuts. I didn't know until I took a bite. They almost like killed me on accident because peanuts. But when the ambulance came, they gave me Benadryl through an IV, and I had a panic attack. So if I'm getting panic attacks from Benadryl, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get panic attacks from whatever's in this IV or this numbing syringe. They said it had epinephrine in it, which I've had epinephrine in the numbing stuff at the dentist, and I had a panic attack. So if I can avoid them, I'm gonna avoid them. It's not that I'm trying to be a weenie or like get my way or be a dork, or you know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to be lame about it, but honestly, being someone who like experiences panic and things like that, the more I can do to lessen my exposure to panic, the more action I'm going to take towards those things, because I shrimply cannot be bothered. Let's see. I'm like almost out of coffee. This is my second one. I've drank like huge glasses of water. I'm just like so ironically dehydrated. Like, I know they gave me fluids in the hospital, but like I've lost a lot of blood. Okay. So fast forward a little bit, and I had started to post on Facebook about everything that was going on, and I'm just like, this is a lot. My cousin said there is something called Wildebrandt disease that one of my other cousins has. And apparently it's this thing where it's like a blood disorder where your blood doesn't clot and it like causes issues or something. I brought that up to my doctor in the hospital, and she was like, when we go do a full panel next week, make sure all of your levels have come back up. We're going to test for that too. And do a diabetes test, because it's a toss-up at this point. So back to the office. So he's like, let's just get you set up at the hospital. It's going to be more comfortable for you. It's going to be easier for us. They've got better things they can use there, do there, whatever. And if they need to stitch the area, cauterize the area, whatever they need to do, they're going to be able to do it. So they're like, just go home. We're going to have somebody call you from the hospital, get it set up. But expect to go to the hospital tonight. So came home, threw together an overnight bag with, jammies, toothbrush, shampoo, all that jazz. And got a call about 4:00 saying I need to be at the hospital at 6:00 for admission. 9:30 was the scheduled surgery time. I don't feel anxious now. I'm feeling very relieved. I'm nervous for work tomorrow, but I also recognize there's a difference between anxiety and nervousness. So I'm definitely just feeling kind of nervous right now. So I took myself to the hospital, got checked in and everything. They made sure I was like really comfortable, asked if I was in any pain. Before I had left the OB's office, they put a pack, like they put a bunch of Moncel solution on a cotton pack and just like shoved it up in there. So I was more in pain from that, from the pressure of that pushing on everything. And it was very dry and scratchy and it hurt a lot. And I've been having like some cramping where all of my insides, not just like abdominal insides, but like all of my insides were just like crunching together. And I was like, oh, it hurts. So they drew some blood, put in an IV, all that happy stuff. My IV was originally here. It is quite bruised. I look like a junkie. Oh, it looks bad. It looks really bad on camera, just because the green shows up more. But it was originally here. They drew blood from over here, this little spot right here. I have many, many lines from the blood pressure cuff. And then they had to move my IV to this hand. I'll get to that in a minute. So I was texting my mom. I was texting my friends. I was just trying to stay busy, let the 3 hours pass. The surgeon before us had ran a little late, so I didn't get down to surgery until about 10 o'clock. And then in pre-op is when it all kind of went to crap. So as they're like rolling me down the hallway, I'm like trying not to panic. I'm trying so hard to be present, be existent in this bed, in this hospital, in in the condition that I'm in. Like I'm trying. At this point, I'd had no medication. I had not had anything to eat or drink since like 11 o'clock. I was really hungry, really thirsty, really tired. And I was just like, I was just feeling it. I was just going through it. So they wheel me into pre-op, and I just started crying. I was like, I don't know about all this. Like, is it necessary? Like, I don't want to do something that's unnecessary. I don't want to do something that's going to make it hurt worse. I don't want to do something that's going to make it bleed worse. I don't want to do something that's going to make anything worse than it already is. Especially as far as like pain goes and things like that. I just wanted everything to just chill out and stop, and just for my body to do the things that a normal human body is supposed to do. And I felt like such a failure because mine wasn't doing what it was supposed to do. It wasn't clotting after this biopsy. Like, why was it not clotting after this biopsy? What was wrong where I couldn't get it together and somehow like force my body to do the things it needed to do? So the nurse comes in. She's like, what's wrong? Why are you crying? Like, are you okay? Like, let's talk about it, whatever. They didn't want me to go into surgery until they knew that I was like mentally okay to go in, because I told them like I have anxiety, I have panic attacks. I live with these things on a daily basis. I don't know how to control them. I'm not on anything. I was just on Latuda, but I tried to hang myself on the 4th. So I had to stop taking that. Like, I've been trying with different medications, which I'll get into in a different video. But I just, the fact that they kept asking me, like, is anybody here with you? And I had to keep telling everybody no. Just, it started to get to me where I was like suddenly I was very much not okay. And they're like, don't worry, we're gonna, get you some medicine, get you feeling better. But at that point, I started getting really scared, because all I could think of was when I'm sitting in the back of this ambulance and they gave me Benadryl. I'd take Benadryl on a daily basis. Like, it didn't make any sense for me to have a panic attack from Benadryl, but I did. And I just remember that overwhelming feeling sitting in that ambulance and just gasping for air and begging this poor paramedic to help me, because I didn't know what else to say, because it didn't register what was going on at the time. It never does. But I started crying, and I definitely started to panic, and I was just like, I can't do this. That's all I kept saying. I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this. Like, if it's this bad to just go in for like a simple procedure, God help me if I ever have children. Like, it's going to be an absolute just garbage fire. Like, it's going to be awful. So I go in and I'm crying, and I'm telling them, like, I can't do this. I can't do this. They run an IV with just saline, like just regular, everyday saline solution in a bag, nothing special. It's just saline. Like, and I have my own fears about like IVs. Every time I get an IV, I panic, because you could put a bunch of air in an IV and kill somebody. You never know what's in the IV. I never know if I'm going to panic from what's in the IV. And that's how like prison inmates get like put to death, like, is through an IV, right? I'm expecting I'm going to go in, I'm going to have an IV, normal saline drip, normal whatever. And I'm thinking the mask, the gas mask that they put on you. And I remembered that I broke my arm when I was 7. And I remember going for surgery and they put this mask on me, and I didn't fully fall asleep. Like, I could still hear some stuff. But that's what I was expecting. And I was scared, because I really thought, if they put this mask on me, I'm going to hear things. I'm going to panic. I'm going to freak out. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, either I'm going to panic from the mask, or I'm going to panic from the IV. Like, what are my options? And everything just kind of like came to a head when they started running the IV, and it was burning. Like, it felt like my arm was on fire, and it took a nurse over here and a nurse over here to hold me down so I didn't pull my IV out, because it burned so badly. Honestly, I thought they put acid in there or something. I was like screaming, trying to rip this IV out. Like oh God, even just now, I'm like, oh, I can't handle it. And they were like, what's going on? Tell us. Like, we can't help you if you don't tell us. And I'm like, it's burning. I don't know what's going on. And they stopped the IV. They're like, it's just saline. Like, what is going on? I'd had this IV in for 3 hours. And apparently, if you have an IV that's been in for a while and hasn't had any liquid in it, it can burn when it goes in. Literally never heard of that before in my life. But apparently, that's a thing. So they ran the IV again, and they're like, let's just see if we can clear it up. And it started burning again. And I was like, you have to stop. Like, I'm not consenting to this. You have to stop. Like, I'm rejecting this. I'm not, I want no part of this. Like, stop this. I'm going to go home. They're like, you can't go home. Like, you have to have this procedure. You're going to die. So they stopped the IV. They're like, we have to run it on our other hand. This one's been compromised. Like, we have to get rid of it. And they started pulling it out. I was like, wait till I'm asleep to pull it out. Like, I will consent to you pulling this IV out, but you have to make sure I'm asleep first. And they're like, that's fine. It's cool, whatever. So they put it in my hand. And I just remember like trying to breathe because all of my parasites, when they go in, they say, okay, take a deep breath all the way out. And then they go, you know, so I'm thinking like same thing for an IV. You take a deep breath, they go in, you know, it's all good. Side note, that doesn't work. It tricks people when waxing, but it doesn't trick people when getting IVs. So I need a breather. Been talking for too long. So they put in this IV, and I just remember asking them, like, please don't, like, please, like, is there any other option? Does it have to be like, do we have to do this? Like, please don't, like, just begging them, like, don't do the IV. Like, I don't want the IV. I can't with this IV. And they were like, nope, you gotta get it. The anesthesiologist was very like nonchalant. She did not give a flying squirrel about her job or anybody or anything. It was very off-putting. But she put the IV in. She like kicked back in a chair and was like, putting this stuff into my IV. Still don't know what it was. At this point, I'm just like, I'm crying. I'm like screaming, like begging for help and like gasping for air. And they're like, we've got to get her on oxygen. It's all very fuzzy from this point. They put me on the oxygen. They put my hair up in like the little lunch lady, like hair thing. You know what I mean? Like a hair. Why do I keep wanting to say a hair mask? A hairnet. Hair mask. What is wrong with me? I put my hair up in the little hairnet. And they're like, we have to get her on oxygen. They put the tube up my nose. And then I remember like I was crying. I was just like bawling. I was like straight bawling, like snot everywhere, tears everywhere. It was awful. And I was just like, they're like, you got to breathe. The doctor's like holding my hand. She's like, it's okay. Squeeze my hand. I'm like, I guess it's like a grounding thing. And I specifically remember I completely just like froze, stopped crying, and was like, I just got really dizzy. And they're like, it's the medicine hitting your system. And I took a deep breath and I opened my mouth to scream as loud as I could. Nothing came out. Nothing. And I just like passed out. I don't remember anything from there. Next thing I know, I woke up. I think I was in recovery because there was like a nurse on either side of me. And there was like it looked like a nurse's station or something over here. And I remember them like waking me up. I know they said something, but I just can't remember what they said. I specifically remember people like nurses or doctors or something being there, trying to like talk to me, but I don't know what they said. I think they were just trying to like wake me up or something. And that was about 11:30. So I'd only been in surgery for about 45 minutes. And then next thing I know, I was like in my room, and I posted on Facebook. Somehow got a hold of my phone and posted on Facebook. Let's see. I don't remember specifically like verbatim what I posted, but I want to pull it up because it was so funny because I like I had likes on it, like reactions, but I don't remember posting it. And it was at 11:29 last night. And I literally wrote, too high to post anything. Too high to post anything helpful, but I didn't die. Clapping emojis. Oh my gosh. So 11:30, I was back in my room. I sent one of my friends a text message at 11:30. I think I sent my mom a text message. Oh my god. Like, I hadn't even read this. Let's see. At 11:30, I don't remember this conversation at all. I don't even remember getting my phone. At 11:30, I texted my mom. I said, not dead. She goes, good. The nurse was supposed to call me. How are you doing? I said, she's doing my paperwork. I'm higher than dad. Just to put that in context, my dad is 10 out of 10 a stoner. He has cancer, and so smoking helps keep like his nausea down and stuff like that. I don't have to justify why my dad smokes weed. We live in Colorado, so whatever. He's an adult. He can make his own choices. I said, she's doing my paperwork. I'm higher than dad. Crazily enough, all of this is spelled correctly. Mom said, cool. I'd love to see that. And I said, LOL, no. She said, are you going home tonight? I said, F that. She asked if they're keeping me for observation. I said, they don't have a choice. She said, get some rest then. Let us know how you are tomorrow. Love you. I said, okay, thanks. Love you too. That was at 11:40. And I don't remember that entire conversation at all. I don't think I texted anybody else. I think it was just my friend and my mom and posting on Facebook, which I don't remember. I don't remember doing these things, but there's proof I did these things. So I went to sleep. I woke up about 2:00 and there was blood all over the bed, all over the floor. Don't know how it got there, but there it was. So I called the nurse and was like, explain to me why there's still blood. She's like, oh, it might just be like some residual stuff. Like, don't worry about it. She gave me a pad. I went and cleaned up in the bathroom, went back to sleep, woke up this morning around probably like 9 or 10, and there was blood. The nurse came in and she was like, yep, you're bleeding. Definitely not as bad as I was for the whole rest of the week, but there was still blood. Even now, even before filming this video, I checked. I am still bleeding. They did go in and cauterize the area. They did not want to do stitches because stitches was going to put more pressure on everything, and then I'd have to go in and have them removed, and it's a whole thing. And I didn't really want stitches anyways. But yeah, still bleeding. I do have to go back to the doctor in about a week to do like a follow-up and just kind of make sure I'm not still bleeding. I have to check and make sure like the cauterized areas are still good. It's kind of horrifying to think that they went in, they numbed everything, they burned everything closed, and I can't feel any of it. Like, I don't feel numb, I don't feel pain, I don't feel anything at all. That's kind of horrifying that there's literally burnt flesh inside of my body and I cannot feel it. That is insane to me. I just the thought of that, I can't. That's just like, it's so mind-blowing, honestly. But yeah, that's pretty much the story. There's that. I posted from the hospital on Facebook this morning, just to let everybody know what was going on. I got home about 2:30 or 3. Like, I went to shower before I left because just hospitals are gross. Being covered in my own blood is disgusting. But I got home. I've just been trying to take it easy and do like some crochet and just kind of hang out and get ready for work tomorrow. I called my job today and was like, I could come in and do like a 4-hour from like 4 to 8. And my boss was like, girl, stop. Like, you need to rest. Like, they were not going to let me come in. I was like, this is bull. I just want to come in. So there you go. That's the story of my biopsy gone very, very wrong. I do feel like this is something that is going to get some scrutiny, and that's cool. I know that there's some parts in here that are a little questionable for younger audiences, but I think if any female is going in for a cervical biopsy, it's important to know that 9 times out of 10, you're going to be fine. Like, you're going to go in, they're going to take a little snip, they're going to look, they're going to see if you got the cancers. They're going to put some tissue in a jar, send it off, you're going to spot a little bit, you'll be fine. But there's always that rarity, that 1 in 100 case where you're going to bleed and bleed and bleed. And in even rarer circumstances, you're going to have to go through what I went through. And I think it's important to talk about these things. Who is talking about these things? Who on YouTube? Point me in the direction of anybody talking about reality, talking about real life, real events, real things that happen, just not necessarily everyday occurrences or story times, because some of these story time people, I feel like, pull stuff out of thin air just to be relevant and just for the views and things like that. I'm sitting here like, hey, this is my life. The whole reason I started this channel was to kind of like spread information. First of all, this is not what my channel was supposed to be, I'll be honest. There's this thing about YouTube where all the videos are super heavily produced and everything is super overcomplicated, I feel like. And people will just do things for views. People will tell stories for views. People will, do anything for that YouTube money. Whereas I'm not doing anything for YouTube money because I don't get YouTube money. Half my stuff is demonetized anyways. Like, I don't care. I do this because originally my channel was started because I wanted people to see and know and understand the everydayness of people with mental illness. I live with bipolar disorder. There is a lot going on in my head, and I go to therapy. I on occasion take drugs for it. Like, it doesn't always go that well. But that's what my channel was supposed to be originally. And then it kind of like morphed into like some beauty stuff. And then it like morphed into story times, which my life is not that interesting. But I feel like even the channels that go through different phases and different growth cycles and things like that, nobody's talking about reality, actual reality. People are like, I've got proof that this happened and I've got receipts and this and that. And it's like, nobody cares. Like, you're being so extra for literally no reason. And I'm just like, this is what happened. Take it or leave it. Instances like this where it's a 40-minute video, a 40-minute story of something that really happened. I'm not saying like I went on this road trip and I got arrested, or I was harassed at a Rite Aid or something crazy like that. I'm saying I went in for a regular procedure. It went wrong. Here's reality. Please be prepared if you are anticipating something like this, or if you in the future will be anticipating something like this. Haven't got my results back yet. Probably won't share them because I really don't feel like that part is anybody's business. But from the educational standpoint of just saying this is a thing that can happen and very rarely does, I think needs to be talked about. I think rare occasions of strange things happening need to be talked about, especially when it has to do with our health. We're so focused on like #gym goals. Like, what about taking care of your body on like the everyday, getting biopsies and blood work and mental health and things like that? Like, not everything is about like gains and gyms and blah, blah, blah. Like, it's not all about that. Like, yes, going to the gym and taking care of yourself physically can be important, but more importantly is your internal health and your mental health. Like, if your heart isn't good, going to the gym is not going to suddenly like cure heart disease. It's not going to cure diabetes. It's not going to cure kidney failure. It can help strengthen the body, sure, but it's not like the top priority. I think people talking about like broken bones or things like that, yeah, it's important. It's definitely important to talk about our experiences and talk about our what we go through from our own perspective as humans, because not every person experiences everything the same. Like, just because I went for a biopsy and it was absolute dumpster fire doesn't mean the next person going for a biopsy isn't going to have, you know, a super fun time. I don't know. I'm going to end my rant there. I just think it's important to talk about things that are gross in a healthy way. I think it's important to talk about things that are real in a healthy way. And if people don't like it, it's just not for them. It doesn't matter. Like, it's fine. I'm not going to sit here and, you know, get myself all up in a bunch because somebody's like, oh, you just talked about vaginas for almost an hour. Yeah, because I have one and it acts up sometimes. And there's like certain things you have to do to take care of it. And it's messy and gross. And that's just the reality of being a female human. I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm some kind of like social justice warrior or something like that and be like, hashtag feminism. I don't think it really has to do anything with feminism. I think it has everything to do with just taking care of the body that you're in, male, female, non-binary, whatever. Just take care of your body. Please know that my experience is very, very rare. It's not something that happens every day. It's not something that even happens every like century, apparently. It's a very, very rare thing that happens where you have to go in and be cauterized after a biopsy. So that is where I'm going to end it. I really don't have anything else to say about the situation. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, you know how to reach me. If you don't, do YouTube messages still exist? I don't know. But yeah, I'm going to go. I'm going to go drink the biggest glass of ice water. I'm so incredibly thirsty. Like, it is unreal how dehydrated I feel. So I'm going to do that and try to get some rest for work tomorrow. Thank you guys for watching. This was a lot of fun, and I definitely think I like having, having the live streams more because I feel like I get to interact with you guys because I can see your comments live. And I think that's really cool to be able to interact with you guys while talking and filming and things like that. And I do think that's how things like Twitch got so popular, is because you can interact with people like real time. I do still check my emails from you guys. I do try to respond when I can. But right now I'm just trying to get through every day without passing out. So yeah, hopefully I'll be able to do more of these live streams in the future, because now that I know that this exists, I'm super pumped where I don't have to worry about like filming on my computer and then uploading it or anything like that. I can just film. So maybe I'll start doing these when I'm getting ready for work or something, so you guys can kind of see the process of how this turns into not this, and start doing like live tutorials that way, because I think that would be more interesting than doing typical beauty tutorials or anything like that. And that way I can kind of interact with you guys a little bit more. So yeah, I'm gonna go. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.